Hi there.
Welcome to TownHall Overwatch, your weekly podcast for all your news, esports, and more. Hello, everyone, and welcome here to episode number 11 of TownHall Overwatch. I'm Solid Jake. With me this week, we have AskJoshy, Spoh, and our special guest, Flame. And we'll be doing an interview with Flame talking about the single hero limit and eggplants, the next hero, Sombra, and then esports coverage. But before we get to all of our topics today, Joshy, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I missed last week's episode, unfortunately. Had some family business to take care of in another state, but very happy to be back. Finally got to get some streams in as well. So really, really happy that A, I get to play again, and B, some of my viewers actually stuck around to watch. So thanks to those guys who've been watching the stream. And I do want to give a special shout out right here at the beginning to Animated Peanut, who is in the chat and made a couple of my emotes, been supporting me for a long time, sent me a belated birthday package that I just got today, and she is a crochet master. Check out this sweet Reaper on one side and Farah on the other. How amazing is that? Crochet pillow, awesome stuff, and they're my two most played characters from closed beta, so thank you again to Animated Peanut. Everyone give her some props in the chat, but thanks again. And yeah, I'm just doing great otherwise.
Very, very cool. And we actually got to see each other this weekend, which was a rare treat, as we ran into each other down in Burbank. So that was a lot of fun. Spoh,
Yeah.
how you been, buddy?
Been all right. No one's sending me pillows. That's pretty sick, though. I love that. That's amazing. That's really cool work. Also, some of the pictures that, or the artwork that you sent to, that was amazing. Just been playing a lot of Overwatch for the most part. A lot of scrims, a lot of stuff. Nothing too special. Actually, I did get a new monitor though. So
What kind?
I'm now at 144 hertz, boys.
Oh, the
upgraded?
Club.
We're in the modern age?
Yep, the modern
Excellent,
age now.
dude.
Beware the mercy pistol now.
All right. Well, Flame, welcome to the show. That the stare that's going to be staring into everyone's eyes all so long. Why don't you give us a brief introduction, my friend?
All right, so I'm a 25-year-old gamer. I turn 26 next week, actually. So happy birthday to Josh, I guess. Yeah, I played TF2 competitively since around 2008. I think I started when I first got to college. When my friends was like, "Oh, let's play TF2," and I was like, "All right, sweet." And then within 2 years, I made it to the top of Invite. I was on Evil Geniuses in season 7, and then I almost dropped out of, or I almost failed school actually, because of how much TF2 I was playing. So then I wound up stopping playing Invite TF2, finishing my degree, and now I work full-time, and I'm back to Overwatch, I guess.
Now, in your TF2 days, you played for EG, correct?
Yeah.
So from being a sponsored player in TF2, and TF2 did not ever really have a big, flourishing competitive scene like something like, let's just say, StarCraft 2 or League of Legends in their earlier days. What is it like going into Overwatch where it's the polar opposite and this game just immediately blew up for esports?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the culture shock for a lot of the TF2 players now, is that they've been running, or we've all been running, a grassroots scene for most of the time. And now Blizzard's given us an opportunity to have a game that's not it's not requiring the producers and the cameramen and the casters to all put in their own time and money. They're getting paid now, and the players have monetary investments in the game as opposed to just hobbies. So it's a whole different spectrum of gaming that I think a lot of the TF2 players weren't ready for, or it's new to them. I mean, some of the TF2 players obviously have played other games at high levels with salaries and stuff, but a lot of the big esports scenes I think now is attributed to CSS or CSGO's success. So people who didn't play CSGO I don't think are really accustomed to the size and the prestige of esports right now. So yeah, it's a whole new world.
Certainly, the scope of esports has gotten much bigger over the decade, and it'll be continuing to see a lot of growth. So it'll be interesting to see where the game goes.
So one of the big things we wanted to talk to you about today, Flame, was just kind of comparing the rule sets in TF2 versus kind of what we have here for Overwatch. Now, obviously, Overwatch isn't a carbon copy of TF2. It has much more heroes and very different maps, and as a result, the gameplay is rather different at the end game. But I know one of the things that you're for is that the single hero limit. You're pretty much just kind of like very pro single hero limit, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want that to be misconstrued as like I'm pushing for it because like I think it's the best. I think like in an ideal world, the game would be balanced in such a way that it wouldn't matter. And I think that there's a lot of teams right now at the top that are thinking in the same direction. It's like you have a lot of the NA scene. I think a lot of the European scene is even for one hero limit. But I would say that there's still a few top teams, like I know C9, Rogue, LG even. Like some of them are more quiet about it, but I know some of them are really pushing for no hero limits just from like a stability standpoint. But I feel like there's too many factors that go into the decision that I think people are overlooking or like they're viewing incorrectly. So like you have you have 3 points, right? There's like the spectator point of view. Like from a spectator point of view, do you want to watch multiple Winstons or multiple Tracers on each team fighting? Like not really. From a design standpoint, do you want to be a developer balancing a game where you can potentially have 5 of the same hero on one team? Like is that really ever going to be balanceable? And then from like a player perspective, do you view the meta as potentially being stale? Do you view some heroes as being too restricted? I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. I think one hero limit's kind of a band-aid for like a few other bigger problems.
Like what?
It's more the players don't really have the patience I personally don't have the patience or the time, I guess, in terms of like it's been probably like 2 months now since like a major balance patch, but like we've needed a major balance patch for probably close to a month or two now. So are we like okay with double Widow? Are we okay with double McCree? Are we okay with double Winston from like a player perspective, just enjoying the game? Like stuff like that I think comes into it. There's a lot of different factors, and I think like dismissing or promoting one side without looking at the giant scope of it, I think is like where people fall into a trap, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, Joshy and Spoh, let me just ask you guys. Obviously, we've seen tournaments from both. And from a viewer, well, let's just start with you, Spoh, as a viewer and player perspective. I mean, did you watch the Onog Invitational? Did you enjoy the single hero limit? Did you? Obviously, we're seeing more diversity.
I think I personally kind of like the 1 year limit. I'm not completely sold on it, and for a few reasons. Yes, it technically the 1 hero limit, you see a little bit less diversity because you can't run the double comps and stuff. But without the 1 hero limit, you also see a lot more the people stacking heroes. I mean, we saw it really start during the second phase of beta. And with God Comp and or Cancer Comp, whatever you want to call it, where you see the double Zenyatta's, the double Genjis, the double Tracers, we saw a lot of that. We saw start with was it double Winston, double Reaper, double Lucio as well.
Yeah.
We saw that, and then we're seeing double McCrees, double Winstons. We see a lot of doubling up of heroes, and you can also say the Diva spam or Tracer spam at the end of matches to try to buy a little bit more time on stopwatch maps. So you get to see this type of play. I would say it does stymie the creativity of teams a little bit. It restricts teams a little bit more, but it also kind of cuts down on a lot of the cheese. So it's really, I mean, there are pros and cons to it, and I think it's something that teams and players just really have to feel out over time.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with basically everything both of the guys said. I don't currently feel too strongly one way or the other. I'm happy to cast or play either rule set. 1 hero limit to me just feels a little stale at the moment because what you're going to see more often than not is the more less risky characters. So Reinhardt, Lucio, Mercy, Pharah are like 4 that we saw always in closed beta before all the doubling up started to happen. And the only problem is when you do have unlimited hero picks, all those risk and reward values they are amplified, right? So we talked about Winston, Lucio, Reaper early on for King of the Hill maps. It made sense because they had the lowest risk. All of them had escapes. All of them had a high mobility, AoE, splash damage, etc. And then later on, when you had Zenyatas and Genjis, or Zenyatas and Tracers, again, it was that risk reward that just compounded. By having just one Zenyatta and Genji, you're already mitigating your risk. By having two of each, now you've amplified that effect. So I feel like that is obviously going to come down to individual hero balance in the same way that it would a MOBA. For example, let's say League of Legends, they classically, whenever they would release a new champion, it would be slightly out of tune. Maybe Riot knew what they were doing, trying to sell the hero. Maybe they didn't and just needed people to play with it to realize these things were OP, but it seemed to happen every time. Could you just imagine the OP hero launches and suddenly you're allowed to have 3 of them on your team, top, middle, and bot lane.
Oh, no.
And suddenly, and obviously that's going to be terrible for the game because whatever risk they have, the other team is going to have no way to really deal with it. Obviously, in Overwatch, you can switch heroes, but let's say you round the corner into, let's say you take point A, you go switch your comp into whatever you think is going to be good for point B. You come out, you finally meet the defense, and suddenly they've switched to 4 Winstons and 2 Bastions, something ridiculous like that. You just have no prep for. Suddenly, a minute and a half, 2 minutes of your clock is eaten up just because it's a gimmicky, cheesy comp, and that's something that definitely affects competitive play. When you're turning the corner, you're never going to know for sure which composition you're facing into until you hit, if you're hitting tab and you can see these things, but by the time you're in position, you're not going to be able to run back. You either have to die or waste even more clock running back to try and deal with it. So doubling up exacerbates all of those factors, whereas single hero limit, you can reasonably expect a composition coming out at any point on any map with enough experience. You can expect, the strongest characters on those positions and deal with them accordingly. So what you're going to get is the more skilled players who have the experience, know what to expect, and can outshoot them and outplay them are going to win more often than a cheesy comp, a surprise comp, or just ridiculous 4 May on King of the Hill, stuff like that, which will win sometimes. Not going to win every time, obviously, but it does make the game more stable and less variant. However, from a viewer perspective, that's totally up to the individual, right? Do I want to see more variants and cheesy comps and surprises? I like seeing surprises sometimes. El Presidente was a huge surprise when that first popped up and rolled over Reunited. Luminosity Gaming did a great job with a surprise comp, and that's innovation. That's stuff that you're not going to see with single hero limit when it's like just well known that McCree is super strong, Reinhardt's super strong, Mercy's super strong. You're going to see them every game, every round, every point, every map. So those are the pros and cons to me. As an individual, I just want to see the best players win. So whichever rule set it is, I just want it to be fair across the board for all teams, and that's achieved with both. So either way for me, I guess at this point.
Okay. All right. So could you say that as the hero pool expands, like we know there's going to be like Sombra has been talked about a lot on the forums, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. As they expand the hero pool, that the single hero limit, would you say it would be more desirable or less desirable? Or neither?
Well, so I guess I'll take it. I guess it's like you have to view it from this perspective of when you brought up TF2 at the beginning about like how TF2 kind of forced its hand. It was like you can run 2 of every class except for medics, except for demo men, because they're the strongest heroes in the game. I think like right now Overwatch is at a point where you pretty much have a good feeling that like a team's gonna be running a Mercy, probably a Lucio, most definitely a Reinhardt, and most definitely a McCree. And then you see like, oh, Widowmaker's too strong. So like, how much variance do you really have with one hero limit right now? Like, you're not going to see much variance, right? Because heroes are obviously too strong. The way you break a Widow is with 2 Winstons in like the current gameplay, right? So if you start removing heroes like comps like double Winston, then Widowmaker becomes too strong. But then then do you make the statement that Widowmaker is too strong because you need 2 monkeys to beat it? Or is it like, the reward for running a Widowmaker becomes much better if there's a lot less ways to deal with it. And I'm like trying to go back to the question, but you have to like view it from do I need 2 heroes? Like, should the game ever require me to have 2 heroes?
Right.
And is it more a design flaw in the fact that like you need to run the same 4 heroes no matter what, generally speaking? Like, the more heroes you have, you'll probably see less stacking. But if there's like a hero like McCree right now where like you just want to double flashbang, you're going to get a kill, why would you ever not run the double McCree? Like, how good would that hero have to be to replace the McCree, to replace the Reinhardt, to make you want to get rid of your Lucio? Yeah.
So even like we know there are balance changes coming. Like, for example, Fan the Hammer is going to be nerfed. Is that the solution? Just rather than going for the single hero limit, just balance the game around these kind of issues that do exist when one hero is sizably favored over others, or is there no way to balance that in your opinion, Flame?
Oh no, I would definitely say that there's a way to balance it. I mean, you guys saw the double Tracer fall out of favor. Like, it was double Tracer, double Zenyatta, Symmetra, and Lucio or whatever it was, and you would like, that went away. Tracer like disappeared from the scene, mostly now because McCree's way too strong for a Tracer to deal with. Right. But you have to say to yourself, like, they ran 2 Winstons, now I have to run 2 McCrees, because like 2 McCrees actually deals with 2 Winstons better than 2 Reapers does. Like, for whatever reason, like 1 Reaper counters 1 Winston, but 2 Reapers doesn't counter 2 Winstons. So like, you want to run this double flashbang thing no matter what. So like, maybe if you start nerfing McCree, then you start looking at, is Tracer going to make a resurgence again? Our team's going to start stacking Tracers because suddenly McCree's having a harder time killing her. Like, there's a whole, every time you balance one of the strongest heroes, something else will become the strongest hero. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to stack it? Because like, if you start nerfing McCree, the double Winston becomes even better. And then like, what are we running, Maze and Reapers all the time to counter these Winstons? And then it becomes like a huge mess of like, which hero is the best, which hero is the easiest to execute, which is always going to be Winston, because a Winston hits 100% of his shots. So if like you have to run a very difficult hero or like a harder hero to execute than the Winston, it becomes like this trade-off of like, oh, they're running this really fun hero like Genji. Like, their Genji player's probably having a great time. Like, Seagull's probably hitting his shurikens and shit, and you're like, wow, Seagull's really good. What's the counter? Oh, I'll go Winston, and I'll just hold down mouse 1 and kill him. Like, the reward for kills has to be like the same as the reward for the player that you're trying to kill. And like, you wind up in these scenarios where you don't even want to switch to the hero to beat stuff like that happens. I mean, it becomes a huge issue. That's one of the bigger issues that I think becomes apparent when you start taking away hero limits, or you start adding them even.
Now, was this an inspiration for your team name?
Yeah, I mean, so like, one thing that our team had a problem, like me and Clockwork, we played this game together. Like, as soon as the game came out, we were pubbing. And we would play like 76, we're like, oh, this character's awesome. And we turn corners and it's like, all right, there's a McCree there. We literally just died. Like, what do we do? We're just dead. And then they buffed McCree, and then suddenly it's like, and like, none of us really want to play McCree, because when you're playing McCree, you don't really feel like you're playing an FPS game. You feel like you're literally just running around the server getting insta-kills every time you play a pub. Like, you can just sit on a ledge and drop on someone's head. You can like wait for them to ult. You can stop their ults. You can like high noon and get a quad kill by like standing still. So like, we would have scrims where none of us want to play McCree, because like, why would you want to play McCree when heroes like Tracer and Genji exist, like ones that are like fun and mobile? So like, we would lose scrims, and it's like, all right, one of us has to play McCree. So it literally was like, all right, fine, I'll play. I'll go McCree, because like, no one wanted to do it. So like, but you had to. So like, that was, I guess, that's like how our team name came about.
So, all right. So back on the point, rather than just becoming our anti-McCree discussion, we'll get into balance talk a little bit later. So, I mean, even from a spectator standpoint, I mean, I'll just want to talk from that point, because I've just been consuming mass amounts of Overwatch over the last few days. And I find especially when I'm doing like mock casts, I'm basically muting YouTube VODs and casting it for practice. And when there's like, multiple heroes that all have the same, ultimate ability that are being cast at the same time, as a viewer, it's hard to follow. I mean, the game is 12 players. There's 6 on each side. And if you have to worry about 3 Widows, that's irrelevant, because that's not an ultimate where you're like really super interested in watching it being cast. But if you want to like actually call out that this was the sound barrier that was, doing XYZ, and you're doing play-by-play quickly, it's hard for the viewer to follow, and it's hard for I think it's also hard for the commentator to do that, because there's no event feed. That's something we talked about. We have a kill feed, but we have no event feed. And
an example there, perfect example, is like Lijiang Tower, King of the Hill. Anytime a Lucio or a Tracer, you hear an ult or a pulse bomb, or you can even visually see the pulse bomb go out or the Lucio sound barrier happen, and you still don't know exactly who it is until you scan 3 different areas of the screen to make sure, okay, that was Cruz on Reunited who used the sound barrier, because it's at 0%, and like it can be very difficult, even visually, to tell what's going on.
And you want that to be just cohesive. You want people to understand that this player made that big play. I mean, and I almost look at it from the perspective of like actual real sports. And I hate comparing real sports and esports, but I like the idea of positions. And even though you have two healers, right? It doesn't mean like there can't be two running backs in a football game, right? There can't be two defensive ends, but they're not the same person, right? They're different people, and that's kind of a really obscure way of putting it, and probably the worst comparison I've ever given in my life. But I'll accept that, and I just find it really hard to follow, like I said, when you do have those multiple pulse bombs going out.
Yeah, I mean, so like that's a problem I guess that happened, or it wasn't apparent in TF2 much because the one problem I think I have with this game, like the first day it came out, was that red and blue team don't really get differentiated in the game outside of the outlines. So like if you're a caster and both tracers, if there's 4 tracers on the map and they're all using the same black skin, like how do you know who's playing for what team? It's like literally hard. Impossible. Yeah. Like you have to, it's ridiculously hard. And like
especially on King of the Hill, there's no attack or defend. It's just blue and red, and it's like
exactly arbitrary. And not only that, like red and blue switch arbitrarily depending on which team you're on. It's like you're always blue or something, and the outlines are always enemy red. Yeah. But when you're spectating, red is always on offense and blue is always on defense, even though in like every other game, red means stop, so they're on defense, and blue means go, so they're on offense. It's like backwards for some reason. Then the kill feed's upside down. It gets really hard to spectate if you're coming from other games.
The kill feed. Yeah. So the kill feed is interesting because I've heard that many times before. I've never had an issue with this kill feed though. I don't understand what is the. It's just flipped from another popular game like TF2 or something.
Yeah, I mean, from TF2 the kill feed goes like it scrolls. Yeah. It scrolls the opposite direction.
I think that's a TF2 problem more than a feature problem.
That's fine. That's fair. But like back to the TF2 thing, like when as TF2 evolved, you wound up red and blue was always red and blue. Like you always knew which team the scout was on, like just because of the color jersey they were wearing or shirt. But then as the game got deeper, the skins became more advanced. So like you would always know like, oh, Clockwork has the hot dog hat for the scout. So it was always like you knew exactly who you were looking at whenever they died because like it evolved to that point where like players were known for their loadouts like cosmetically. But like this game doesn't have any of that. So when you start stacking heroes, it literally becomes like, oh, which monkey popped ult? Is that their Lucio? Did that sticky bomb hit that tracer? Like it's almost too much to comprehend as a viewer with like no real way to differentiate which team each person's on in real time, especially if you're coming from a game like TF2 where everything is like inverted.
So would you like...
Go ahead. Go ahead, Spoh.
I was going to say, would you like an option to force team colors then? Do you think that would help?
Oh, I would love it. I mean, like, I wish, like, I could force all tracers to be red when I'm on I wish I could, like, say I'm on the red team. I want all my tracers on my team to have red skins or something.
Now, considering Blizzard's business model is to sell the customization of the game, sell loot boxes in theory for long term, especially if they're not going to charge for, like, expansions of new heroes and maps, because it seems like they're not going to. I don't think that'll ever happen. I mean, sure, with TF2 and with Halo, the whole team is, they're the blue Spartans, red Spartans, blue scouts, red scouts, you name it. But in Overwatch, I mean, it's all about showing off that, Seagull likes X Genji skin and et cetera. So do you think it would be too distracting to make those outlines more prominent, or maybe even put like a red circle over them, or maybe like a red arrow over their head or something? Do you think there's a different solution that could work?
You mean just in spectator mode?
Just for the spectator. Yeah, just for the observers. If there was like
I would hope that as the game gets bigger, we would see like more of a resurgence of skins that are literally specific for your team. So maybe there's like a Luminosity Gaming skin pack for each of the heroes.
Well, we can dream,
and they can just rock their like stuff like that. But like it would be something that like if I was on a team right now, like I am on a team, but like in the future, I'll probably say, hey, all of us should literally just go buy the white skin for every single hero and just use it in all of our matches because it'll help us. It's like, if it gets to that point, like, why isn't there an option for it, I guess? Like, every player would want it and every spectator would want it. I definitely understand, like, the semblance of skins, but you can still make the skins have different hues or, like, variants that are closer to blue and closer to red. I noticed that, like, one of the Soldier 76 skins that I had in beta doesn't exist anymore, and it was like the red Soldier 76 skin. So like someone obviously complained that like the blue team shouldn't have a red 76, and like sometimes you'll turn corners and you'll see a Reaper teleporting and you're on the blue team, but it's a red teleport and you're like, oh, that's definitely their Reaper. So you start shooting this Reaper, but it's on your why does the red Reaper why does the blue Reaper have a blue teleport and then, or a red teleport, and why does like a blue Mei have or like a red Mei have a blue ice wall? Like stuff like that gets really confusing during the games.
Yeah, it does.
It's true. You can't even say red is dead.
Yeah, you can't.
No. But I like what you were saying there, and I think that could be the solution for the future about having pro teams basically have their own skins for each character. I don't think that'll be a solution that comes soon, but maybe that will be the long-term solution, right? Maybe Cloud9 will be white and blue or whatever, and they'll have skins for all that. Their players will rock it. That would be the coolest thing ever, to have uniforms within the client. And I think the game could definitely support that, so we'll see.
A+ for that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's I think
Manchester United uniforms, for example, would be amazing.
We'll get there. We're going to be talking about Manchester United looking to acquire an Overwatch team when we get to our esports coverage. The other thing that Spoh had mentioned was, Flame, you wanted to explain what eggplant was.
Oh, I mean, so the way that even came about was I think it was id was in the channel, and we were like arguing really like angrily about hero limits versus no hero limits, because there's a lot of players that don't like hero limits.
Yeah.
So I think id came in and just spammed the egg. He just had hit the eggplant emote for some reason. And I was like, okay, we're just using this as a symbol to represent the fact that we want one hero limit, and it just stuck. And now there's like eggplants in Jeff Kaplan's office. There's like eggplant emojis all over Twitter. Like it kind of blew up into like this big thing. And like there's a lot. I've actually seen like top streamers, like streamers that are like casual streamers that honestly have no connection to Discord or Twitter, like talking about it. They're like, oh, I've seen this eggplant everywhere. Like I don't know what it means. And like even they'll talk about like how they want hero limits now, and it's kind of funny to me. But again, like it's a band-aid at the end of the day.
Yeah, this game is getting super popular. They're going to attach to everything that the cool guys are doing, right? Agents Rising, we actually had a team register as Team Eggplant, and then Captain Planet, who makes Overwatch infographics at Planet Overwatch, brought an eggplant to the caster desk, and that's why we had it there for that second day. But we didn't bother explaining it, so that was our bad. Is basically the eggplant represents one hero limit, no double cap maps, so that's Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya currently, and stopwatch rules is kind of the eggplant motif.
Maybe the eggplant should have been the MVP medal.
I heard Harblu. I heard Harblu of Gale Force Esports actually took a big bite out of the eggplant, so that
sounds awful.
Yeah, legendary. Yeah, it sounds awful.
It must have been awful.
Like, good thing it wasn't the rotten eggplant.
Yeah, it was fresh.
I don't know if I've ever eaten an eggplant raw. That does not sound like a...
You're not supposed to. It's like wax on the outside.
Yeah, it is like wax.
Okay. All right. Well, before we move on, any final thoughts on just, single hero limit? It sounds like not everybody's convinced on it yet, but there's a lot of pros that exist, as we've all discussed here on the show. Any other points on there?
No, I mean it comes down to Blizzard at the end of the day. It's mostly I think it hit a point after we played double McCree, double Winston for so long that players were like, what are we playing right now? Like, why is this a competitive FPS? Like, why are these monkeys jumping onto my healers and auto aiming them down with like 500 health? So it's like you have to wait for the balance patch to come, but then if you hit a breaking point, you start saying to yourself, like, how can I get around this without waiting for the balance patch? Like, there's a bug in the game right now. I don't know if anyone's aware of this or how many people are aware of this, where if you damage boost someone and they shoot a Reinhardt shield, your Mercy builds ult from, like, shooting the shield. Like, you're not even doing damage. You can literally, like, shoot a scatter arrow at the ground and it'll give your Mercy, like, 90% res or, like, some obscene amount from one scatter arrow. And, like, it's been in the game for weeks and we've, like, messaged Blizzard about it. They haven't touched it. It's, like, ruining the integrity of the game, and, like, you start wondering, like, what are we playing? And once it gets to a certain point, it's, like, I need one hero limit because I'm sick of these monkeys. Like, I need this patch because these people are running Roadhogs to build their Mercy reses. And, like, the game gets very skewed in terms of competition, I think, once, like, these, like, weird mechanics start coming up and, like, they're not being addressed fast enough.
So you said shooting the Reinhardt shield was allowing Mercy to build ult. Does the person shooting the shield actually build ult as well?
No.
Just
no,
Mercy.
Okay, so that's the issue. Okay, right. I gotcha.
It's a very...
But you can have Mercy res in, like, under 5 seconds if a Bastion's being boosted. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Gets to be pretty nuts.
Huh. That's crazy. I'm sure they'll fix that before long. I mean, I don't think they've put a lot of a lot of patches. Have they done any balance patches? Just a few
right. No,
bug
so they
tweaks?
haven't. And I wanted to mention that earlier when he said, it's been maybe a month since we needed like McCree and Widow changes, but you have to obviously keep in mind open beta was this time last month. It's been 1 month basically exactly since open beta, where they collected 9 million players worth of data over a week, but now they've got 7 million live players for about 2 weeks now, 2.5. So that they're still just collecting data. And I believe these guys, obviously they're watching all that we do, they're watching all the tournaments. There's probably a fair few Blizzard people watching now. They have all their critical tasks and things like that. And the trickiest part, obviously, for them is the fact that competitive is the 0.01%.
Of course.
At least the people I'm playing in tournaments. So always have to keep that in mind from a developer's perspective, that they know that I know from working at Blizzard previously that they want it to be a complete global phenomenon in the way that League of Legends and CSGO are now. So they are not going to treat any of this lightly or ignore it. They're at least going to weigh everything and take their time to approach it the best way that they can. And it's not going to make anyone happy ever. Like they're going to do what they feel is best for 7 million players, and it's never going to make everyone happy. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I respect the shit out of them. Like they're doing a great job. Like this game, from a design perspective, is like it's really new. It's fresh. It just has a lot of like. Here's another thing. Like, do you really like? Is McCree really that powerful if you can reliably dodge flashbangs with Zarya bubbles, or with Mei shields and stuff like that? Like the netcode really bones you in some aspects. So like, there's a lot like that. Also has to be involved in like the 1 hero limit discussion, and like it's not really a topic I even really want to delve into. But like in a vacuum with a 60 hertz server in like land situation, you would imagine that McCree's actually probably not that strong, like comparatively to other heroes that like can deal with the flashbang and stuff. So it's just like another thing, I guess.
You're talking about the balance patches too. It's been a while since we had a balance patch. I think the last balance patch was, correct me if I'm wrong, was the Symmetra Shield nerf from 50 to 25, and then McCree flashbang buff by 0.2 seconds. Is that true?
Yeah.
And that was like probably like a month or a couple weeks
and a half.
Yeah, it was before
the beta closed.
It was before open beta. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, the game overall is pretty well balanced, but obviously we've heard some murmurs of a few changes that might be coming. Fan the Hammer on McCree. I know Kaplan mentioned that might be nerfed, and I think there were 2 more heroes. Was it Widow?
Widow was being looked at, nothing specific mentioned, and then Diva was being looked at to bring her up to par with the other tanks, is all that they've basically vaguely hinted at.
So if we had to
Zen users.
No, right? He's never going to get more health. Sorry, body shots for days. Goodbye. But so if we had to speculate about Diva, what do you think that would do? Maybe reduce her cooldown in her E or something?
I think her cooldowns are great. Like her cooldowns feel very appropriate. It's got to be her damage or something. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish.
I think it's got to be damage, either fall off or spread, because that's generally the fact that she has to aim makes her worse than Winston.
Well, the fact that she can't really move while she's shooting also makes her a little bit worse than Winston.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the things that I think that people have been missing, is that Winston could just run around M1, hit all
full
shots.
Speed, yeah.
While Diva has to actually sit there. Obviously, they're both kind of easy to hit with the headshot hitboxes. Diva a little more so, but that's really one of the biggest things. And I don't think Diva's ult is as impactful as Winston. Winston, you get a full 1k HP. Diva, you have to blow your mech up and run away, and your easy pickings right there. And it's not as useful.
Okay. Actually, just going back to the single hero limit discussion really quickly, the final point I wanted to make before I move on to talk about Sombra is obviously they're never going to change quick play. They're never going to change that. And if competitive did end up going forward and Blizzard's official circuit did say, hey, yes, we're going to accept a single hero limit, do you think fundamentally that it's okay to have that be a difference from quick play to ranked play?
So here's, I guess, my stance. When I came into this game, I said to myself, like, why aren't there drafts in some form? Like, I'm not about like locking in heroes or anything. Like, my idea was like, why don't we all just pick heroes at the beginning, and then you can only switch your heroes when you die. So like, you'd have to be killed to switch your heroes. So like, maybe offense says I'm picking Mercy, and then like you counter with your Mercy pick, and you just keep going. Like double monkey wouldn't be a thing because the defense would see it coming, and then they'd like have their McCrees or their Reapers ready. So the meta would shift in that direction towards like where heroes, like players would never be caught off guard. Like the biggest issue with no hero limits is if you're on defense, you can't prepare for 5 monkeys as well as 5 tracers. Like you're gonna lose to one of them no matter what. And like that's I think where the frustration comes in that you're on defense, you're playing a guessing game, and you're playing a guessing game that you really can't win. So when you start adding in limiting factors, like maybe each player can lock in and the teams are viewed like they lock at 30 seconds, I don't know. Some weird draft mechanic where there's no bans and there's no limits, but you have to pick alternating, and then you can only switch when an enemy hero kills you would be really cool. Like I would love to try that. But I don't know that that'll ever be a thing, but it comes back to like quick play versus like ranked or captain's mode in Dota. As far as I'm concerned, it's like captain's mode has its drafting, but all pick, you just pick whatever you want. So I think that there's definitely a way for it to go in a direction where quick play is different from competitive, but Blizzard like has to support it. They have to explain it well. They need like the rule sets in the game. Like they need like a huge post saying like this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. Jeff Kaplan needs to make a nice little puppet show video explaining it, and like everyone will love it, eat it up, and it'll be like top of Reddit. So like it's just a matter of how they handle the situation, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious to hear your thoughts, Spoh. Go ahead.
How would you? I mean, it sounds. I think it sounds all right. I think the problem with it is it might be an idea like that might be too complicated or to be palatable to Blizzard. I mean, it is possible. I mean, like I think like Flame said, it would take a lot of work, a lot of finagling to get it right. Because I mean, what do you do, for example, if players just jump off the edge and then swap their characters? You know, like let's say you're playing on the Bonnie offense, you're just like, oh, well, I'm just gonna jump off the ledge to the left and swap my hero. I'm dead, right? How do you fix that? And is it something where you have to be killed by another player? You know, is that how you fix it? I think there's a lot of gray area, but it's something that could be explored.
Yeah, I mean, I that was like probably the first thing I thought of, like what happens if you just suicide? But like this game has too many death pits. Like they could also just close up the maps so there's less death pits. But I agree. Like it would have to be like a player had to have killed you. Or I also had the idea of like each team's only allowed X amount of swaps per game, or like per cap point. Like you can only swap 2 or 3 heroes per cap point, and like that would become a meta of like which heroes do I swap? Do I need to swap? And like if you ran out of swaps, it would screw you. Like stuff like that. I don't know. It's just different ways to look at it. There's more than just hero limits, no hero limits. Like there's definitely other rule sets that can be looked at, but they need to be looked at like obviously thoroughly. And we're out of beta, so like how do you implement it without throwing people off? Like maybe you make it a weekly brawl and then we test it there. I don't know. It's like it's a problem, but Blizzard can solve it. It's just how long is it going to take, and how many tournaments are we going to have worth $15,000-$25,000 where shields are getting mercy res? Like it becomes like there's a lot of that's my end of my rant, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna feel worse the more money's at stake every time, for sure. To lose to anything weird and cheesy.
Yeah, but I mean, Flame makes a really good point. It's how do you stop that? I mean, King's Row is as much as everybody loves King's Row. I love King's Row. It's kind of like the Dust 2 of this game. Like, how do you stop people from just instantly going double monkey, Lucio, and just boosting it and really trying to take the point? Or there were times I think this kind of surfaced too when the double Winston, double Reaper, double Lucio was a thing for like a week and a half.
Right.
And that's pretty much all you saw. I remember watching the tournament, and playing in the tournaments, and just that's all everybody was playing was this comp for the most part, and it was very enjoyable to watch, I think. And I mean, you still kind of saw some of the same thing on the King of the Hill maps before the hero lists came on. You saw the double Winston, double Tracer, double Lucio. That was pretty common.
Yeah.
There were some other variants too, depending on what stage of the Koth it was, but that was certainly very common, and it wasn't terribly enjoyable to watch. So yeah, I can see where the one hero limit is palatable, but it's how do you deal with the cheese? How do you deal with people coming out with something ridiculous and just getting a free point off of it? And especially when when it's a stopwatch style map, I mean, things teams can literally win off cheese. So how do you prepare against that, I guess?
Yeah, and I mean it turns into that's also the problem with the 2 CP maps is like you'll get cheesed on the first point of say Anubis, right? you're like, oh shit, we're just gonna run like 5 maze, go in, ice wall them off, and then cap. But then like you'll win the cap in 10 seconds, and then suddenly you have 9 minutes and 50 seconds to cap the second point.
Yeah.
But maybe the defending team was just better than you, but you like ran this cheese and beat them. So now you're literally just pushing the same point for 10 minutes. And like, in no world is that fun. Like, in no world does any player want to literally be banging their head against the Anubis wall for 10 minutes. Like, that's what the game feels like sometimes. And like, it happens on both Sky, it'll happen on Anubis, it'll happen on a lot of maps actually, but you'll generally get punished more so on payload if you're worse. But like, that's also where it comes in. It's like, it'll get you your first point, but then if you're not that good, you're still going to lose, but it's just going to take longer. So, I don't know. That's like another thing that happens, I think, in this game that shouldn't, but it's a result of the fact that people can cheese blindly.
I would say that, and I like to draw a correlation to StarCraft 2 here. I mean, StarCraft 2 is a game too where players do cheese. You know, you might see like, someone trying to go. Maybe a Protoss player is going Dark Templar build. They're trying to go for that, or they're going for an early Stargate. Or there's things in that game where you can cheese in that game, but there's counterplay to it. The opponent can scout, or there's certain tells in the gameplay, and you can see, okay, this guy isn't getting any gas. What does that mean? Or this guy is two gas. This guy is two gas extractors. What does that mean? Or there's tech missing. There's a building missing. What does that mean? There's certain tells for these things. You in these games there is some amount of counterplay to cheese, and that's great. But in this game there is no counterplay to it. There's no like. They can just come out of the gate with it, whatever they want. And if you're forced to defend a point, first point King's Row, first point Nabani, whatever, they can come out with something, assuming no one hero limit, that's incredibly cheesy, I guess. And there's just, like Flame said, they can come out with like triple Winstons or triple Tracer or something.
That's cool to like a very small extent, to the point where it starts to become a common thing that we see abused. So like, honestly, in a tournament, it would be fun to see that happen like once or twice. Like, whoa, they busted out this crazy cheese and it worked for them. But the moment that becomes like a consistent thing where it's like beating teams that shouldn't be losing, is when I think that's like needs to be squelched, if you will. So,
right.
Well, yeah. I mean, but there's also the argument to like innovation doesn't necessarily like cheese and innovation are like kind of 1-in-1 in some form. But like, so we scrimmed last night against like NG Red, and they ran like this May on Attack Hollywood, and we were like, what is this gonna do? And it worked, right? But like, you would never expect it, and like they had a plan for it, and they ran it like well or whatever, and like, you're like, wow, I just died to a May. But like, if you were watching that on a cast, it'd be like, holy shit, like this kid just went off on May, like how, and like that would be hype. But is it really ever going to be like, wow, 3 Winstons just jumped on my team and dropped 3 shields and mouse one everyone down? Like, no. So, like, I think that there's definitely still room for innovation. Like, I don't see teams running a lot of D.Va. D.Va still has a place. It's just not a good one right now. But you can still do some cool stuff with the shields. Like, teams are running Bastion. You don't really see teams running Mei to counter Bastion. But Mei's, like, really good against Bastion. There's a lot of, like, different things you can do that are still kind of cheesy, quote-unquote, but they're not reliant on auto aim or like abusing map mechanics, which is another issue I think in this game too.
Well, obviously Blizzard is aware of the eggplants, and eventually I'm sure they'll come out and give an official statement. I know right now I think they've publicly said in the past they're not interested in single hero limit. That was during the beta quite a while ago. I don't think they've commented on it in some time. So who knows? But obviously still a discussion, and the great thing about Overwatch in general is the custom games are incredibly flexible as to what you can do. We're seeing a lot of events do different rule sets, and honestly, as time goes on, we'll probably still see different rule sets. Even years down the road, there will be events that utilize, maybe even drafting, like you were saying, could be a thing for some fun, unique events as the game grows. But let's transition and talk about what is supposedly the next hero, Sombra. And there is a whole big Reddit post that was compiled by Tizbot, a humbug Reddit user, who basically went through and screen capped a lot of different things and kind of gathered all the speculation. And that is the wrong button. There we go. Where we can see it. So Sombra is basically, she's in the game in various locations, like in Dorado. There's this whole newspaper on the ground asking about Sombra, and all these different things. But it's speculated that she's essentially a villain. It's speculated that I've read that she is a sniper healer, which makes no sense to me. And even Jeff Kaplan did comment on Sombra saying people haven't even found all of the Easter eggs within the game relating to this hero. So what do you guys think about the speculations? This is a very is speculative a word?
Speculative.
No, I like speculative. I think it sounds nicer.
Well, that doesn't. Sounds wrong. Sombra, I actually have not even read anything about Sombra because for me, whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I just don't get hype about things that are coming up later. I just don't care yet until it's here. And all this stuff is cool. Like, I like that, obviously they're trying to build the lore so that they have a full universe and all the characters are relatable and at all times and stuff like that. And tons of people do enjoy, doing the Easter egg hunt. Tamley, who is a competitive player, last night was going through custom maps looking for Sombra clues when I invited him to play. He's like, not now, dude. Trying to find this Sombra person. I was like, oh my God. So it's interesting. I like that they're teasing it, but I don't really, not super hyped about it. And the only thing that does catch my attention, like you said, is that sniper support sounds interesting. And since Sombra sounds kind of like, words that relate to sleep, I'm actually curious if she's going to be like an incapacitator, similar to Mei, where maybe she can do long-range incapacitation. Gun. Yeah, like a trank gun, exactly. So that's something that I think could be pretty cool. Perhaps something that, like, at long range, Sombra could either incapacitate an enemy or somehow protect with a shield or barrier of some kind an ally at long range. It would be pretty cool. So I'm very interested to see what design aspects they go with. But as far as all this lead up, I just want to see what it is when it's ready.
Spoh, any thoughts on her or him?
I know that people have been speculating that she is a sniper. I want to go with she's not a sniper. Maybe I don't know. Maybe she is not in the not in the traditional Widow sense. I think that maybe you could see something like Joshy was saying, like a trank gun stuff. But I think a lot of the speculation around her being a sniper class was based around a screen. I think it was a screen grab.
He just showed it, and it looks exactly like Widow's pose.
Yeah, it looks like and. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong here, Blizzard uses on unfinished characters. They test a lot of their characters on just blank models of pre-existing characters. Like, the artwork for it wouldn't be done yet, so so in place of that, they use essentially a white Widow Maker model as a placeholder. So I think that's just what it is. But I think some of the abilities and tools and stuff that people have been speculating about, it may not be too far off.
Huh. So somebody in chat is saying Sombra is Spanish in shadow. So it's possible that she is a healer with cloaking too, if she was a healer. I think a lot of people are pretty adamant, myself included, about her being a healer just because there are less healers than any other role in the game, and it would make the most sense for the next to be a healer. I think we'd all be pretty excited about having a support added. But Flame, are you on the Joshy boat of this, where you're just like, whatever, it'll be cool when it comes out?
I mean, I'm more interested to see what her design is. This has nothing to do with the one hero limit, but like most of the time, this game, like, the heroes are meant to counter other heroes, and it's like very apparent sometimes. Maybe like some heroes it's not as apparent, but there's definitely like a rock paper scissors aspect to some of the heroes, where like some heroes are just literally made to destroy other ones. So like you would hope that this hero was in the game to put an end to Widowmaker. So like, I'm more interested in like how they attack the Widowmaker with this hero. Like, if they are going to, I would hope that they do. Like, maybe like I was hoping for like a smoke cloud or something. Like maybe like a smoke grenade, like CS, or like some form of cloaking or some form of way to like get past wall hacks, something like that. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Or like you see Widowmaker, so like you instantly switch to Sombra. Like that's your mindset. Like,
you have like a veil essentially to hide from her sights.
Yeah,
that's a cool idea.
Well, Soma is related to sleep. That's why I see. Thank you, Mr. Twitchy. Reaper mentions, that's the voice line that was in beta even, they got data mined. Reaper mentions, where's Sombra when you need her? That's actually a voice line in the game. So Reaper, Talon, Shadows, all goes together. We don't know what. Reaper obviously is very death-oriented, but Sombra, if he needs her for something, makes sense that she would be a support. Maybe, and maybe in some way amplifies his abilities or allows him to get around easier, like Flame is saying, with like concealing and stuff. So could be awesome.
Stealth class confirmed, invisibility.
Or maybe even like a temporary, like think about Zarya bubble, but invisibility.
That would be
like,
really cool to allow
Genji cloaking you, go in,
kill me.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, oh, I hate invisibility classes. Like, I hated Spy and TF2 and stuff. But like, this game has no ammo. Like, there's nothing stopping you from holding down mouse 1 on like heroes like Junkrat or heroes like Pharah. Like, if I'm assuming if it was going to be cloaking or some form of that, like there would be some way to reveal. And it would probably be in the form of like AoE damage and something or some way. So like, it sounds powerful, maybe, but it really depends on if it's too powerful. But like, I'm excited for anything that means Widowmaker is going to die without dedicating 3 heroes to the Widowmaker.
Yeah, could be cool. But that is the speculated next hero coming up. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of clues within the client. Jeff Kaplan has said that not all of the clues have been found. So if you want to go boot up Overwatch and start looking through all the maps for little hints and posters and things that exist, talking about Sombra, have at it. We have absolutely no idea what the timeline looks like for any new content in the game. I'm pretty sure the Overwatch team has been very clear that this is not a MOBA. They're not going to be releasing a new hero every 4 weeks or something like Heroes of the Storm gets. Not at all their goal for Overwatch, and I think that's a good thing. They don't want to flood the game with too many heroes to make it too complex, and that would I think it would become essentially impossible to balance an FPS with 100 heroes long term.
I think that I've also heard or read or I know that there's some connection to a Blizzard person saying this, but I honestly cannot remember who or when. But basically, the sentiment was that releasing the 3 heroes at BlizzCon, while obviously great for generating hype during closed beta when no one could play the game, I think they've basically pulled back on that, where they're never going to do 3 at one time again. I think they said that it was just way too much in the game at one time, and that competitive obviously would be wrecked by like 3 new characters coming in at a time. Right. So I think we can't expect pacing of 1 at a time. And if they're going to do it this way, where it's like slowly releasing news into the world that this new character is afoot, I think that's a cool way to do it. Adding stuff to the maps and stuff like that everyone in the game can actually see it and be like, was that there before? Is that a new poster? Like what stuff like that is pretty cool. So I think we can expect like 1 hero at a time, every few months, something like that. But no, again, you're right. We have no idea for pacing just yet.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that they mentioned that they wanted the like ranked mode in before July. So I would hope it's probably somewhere in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. I
mean, you never want to hold them to deadlines. You never want to hold any developer to deadlines. But like they've been pretty good, I think, with their generalizations. Like they haven't actually. When they speak, like they usually hold true. Like when they announced the game, they were like, "Oh, fall 10th," and then it came out in October and all that other stuff. So, I mean, they're doing I don't know. I'm excited because I know that their marketing team is like actually so impressive to me. Like everything that they've done to hype this game is actually like on another level from any other game I think I've ever been interested in. Like you don't see other companies like putting up giant life-sized action figures in the middle of like major cities, and you don't see Razer branded headsets that are like actually nice headset. Like there's like literally Overwatch branded shirts. Like I'm on Twitter, people are like people that I know in real life who I didn't even know like owned a video game at all, or like talking about Overwatch. I see like ads on television for Overwatch. I launched Twitch and there's ads for Overwatch while I'm watching Overwatch. It's like actually insane.
Is that Overwatchception?
I went to New York City a few weeks ago wearing my Overwatch jacket, and the number of random people that like came up to me just from being on the train and stuff, like to compliment the jacket, like "Where'd you get that?" or just comment on it. It's crazy. I mean, Overwatch is already just it just feels like it exploded overnight for sure. Back to new hero releases though. I guess since we're speculating, Doomfist, there's clues and mentions of him all over the game. I mean, it feels like even more so than Sombra, but in the lore, do they ever confirm that he's supposedly dead, right? But I think
the idea actually is that Doomfist's gauntlet is a powerful artifact, kind of like the Infinity Gauntlet from Marvel, and that there's different people that can wear it and become Doomfist. Because if you look at some of the clues around Numbani, where the Doomfist gauntlet is being escorted to the museum, you'll see a poster where it's like past, present, and future, or something like that, or like it's got like 3 different titles, but it's all a Doomfist poster, and it looks like different people. So that is my thought on that. And if a Doomfist ever does show up, it could actually just be a new character who gets the gauntlet or something like that. And Widowmaker's trying to steal it all the time. Talon's going after it all the time. So maybe a new Talon evil character will eventually get their hands on it, and we'll see him that way.
As for other characters too, I mean, there's also Athena has been teased a little bit too. That's kind of a
As a
new
character?
character. And I think as a character.
I mean, it's speculation. All of it's
speculation, right?
Huh.
Exactly.
That's
and
interesting.
Soundquake was also speculation as well. So we'll see about that. And the thing is that a lot of these characters too, and we said that Sombra is, people are speculating as a support class, because I think a lot of people are saying, okay, well, we want 6 of each. Like what about, there's only 4 supports. Let's get 6 supports. Because you have the 6 attack characters, you got 6 defense characters, you got your 5 tanks and 4 supports.
Right.
So people think that between these, they'll be, okay, we're going to add 1 more tank, which should be either Doomfist or Soundquake, and then maybe they'll add 2 more supports, which would be probably Sombra and Athena would be the guess. So that's kind of where some of the community's at right now.
I'm thinking through some of the artwork that they've shown over time, and one of them has I'll try to find it. One of them has like a little dude in a yellow like hazmat suit, and another
I remember
one,
him, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Very early on?
Roadhog?
That was like concept art.
I think that was supposed to be Roadhog. I think that was originally supposed to be Roadhog.
Yeah, you've said that, but
Art.
I mean, there's no pyro in this game, and
True.
I think that
cool.
would be kind of cool to have. Maybe it's like a poison version of pyro, right? Where it probably wouldn't be the exact kit, probably wouldn't have like the deflect, but who knows? There
was also someone who got multiple pictures. He's kind of like a Cyclops dude, like a robot. He has like a robot mask, but there's a picture of him in the house in Volskaya, where he's got the very same like robot hand, but he's got no mask on. It's just a dude with like some facial hair. And then there's a picture of that same hand holding like a wine glass basically on a picture in Numbani, but he's got the Cyclops robot head. And then in the Winston Recall short, one of the images it flicks through is that same Cyclops robot head. So that's another, no name for this person yet, but he's actually in 3 different aspects of teasers so far.
Yeah, you can see the hazmat dude here on the left. Like you said, Roadhog is not in this artwork, so very well could be an early version of Roadhog. That big red dude, maybe that's Doomfist. Who knows?
Maybe Soundquake could be, yeah.
Could be that. The other girl next.
See, there's a Cyclops there too. Is that
Tracer?
Athena? Like,
yeah,
by Tracer.
Right next. Yeah, that's supposed to be Athena.
I see.
Yeah, it could be
That
just an
makes
AI
sense.
android.
Like a
Oh, she's
healer.
got the
I'm
little
pretty sure
A
that's
on the
like-
helmet though. That's.
It looks like a
that's
mix
good stuff.
between like Eva from WALL-E and one of like the aliens from the end of Borderlands 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Lots of inspirations from all over.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, but at the same time, though, even in the early days of Overwatch, Genji wasn't announced, and his artwork was everywhere. So it's like we assume these characters will come eventually. Who knows when? Who knows where? But Sombra is supposedly the next one to come. Let's transition over to talk about esports. There's a lot going on, like almost too much to follow. It seems like everybody and their mother has announced an event, and One Nation of Gamers has announced a $15,000 tournament, the largest prize pool to date, where it basically has 2 qualifiers and then 3 weekends of coverage. Is it like group playoff? Is that correct?
It is. It's 2 qualifiers. Basically, top 2 from each qualifier join the invited teams on Saturday and Sunday, and moving forward. So there was a qualifier Tuesday where Rogue and Nubris got through. Nubris is a lot of the former Envy guys, and Rogue is a lot of the former IDDQD 55 win streak guys. So obviously, we knew they were going to have a pretty good showing. And then Final Go McCree got like top 4. I want to say. Flame?
In which?
In this last qualifier on Tuesday? Did you guys play?
No, we didn't play.
Okay. Are you going to play Friday?
No, our team's actually undergoing roster changes at the moment, so we're doing a lot of internal training and practice.
Gotcha.
It's not worth it to qualify or try to qualify right now.
I see. It was No Fast Guns that I was confused. That is a team that's changed many, many times as well. But basically, yeah, Rogue and Nubris got through, and then Friday there'll be another qualifier. Rogue and Nubris aren't playing in because they've already qualified, so we could see Northern Gaming, Colorado Clutch. I see several teams there that obviously have a strong chance at qualifying as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's a $25,000 event that Josh OG is running, which is actually even bigger than the One Nation of Gamers and Video Game Voters Network. And it is an invitational, though. It's only 8 teams, so no chance to qualify for that one.
Now, is that NA only, or is it region locked?
I believe it's both. Could be wrong.
I believe it's NA only, actually, but
NA?
don't quote me. I'm pretty sure it's NA.
How do you guys
Wikipedia
feel
will know.
about region locking in general? Do you think that should be the way to go moving forward, or do you think it should be just completely open? If you want to enter, go for it.
So there's like a whole debate, I guess, in terms of like, I know some people are on the boat of like the best teams should be the ones winning the money, but it's also like the teams with the most. It's like a weird balance between like you don't want to be an American sponsor funneling money into European teams. I don't know that you want to be a European org funneling money into American teams. And then there's like this whole balance between like Twitch viewers, like NA gets more viewers, but Europe might have better teams right now. So like there's a lot of questions about that. And in general, overseas online gaming, especially in FPS, isn't really a thing. And it really shouldn't be a thing because like it just happens to be a thing in this game because the netcode's so wonky that like it'll allow you to shoot people around corners and get all stuff off client side. So it becomes less of an issue. But I think in like an ideal scenario, it would be so unplayable for the Europeans to play on the NA servers that like they wouldn't even want to.
You're still at a disadvantage too playing cross region.
Yeah.
And when you're playing at the top echelons of play, that makes a big difference.
Well,
Everything makes a difference.
You mean when you have a massive ping difference and your McCree's collide, who wins? So
Okay, so I found the link for the Josh OGs. It's just oginvitational.com, and it doesn't say much. It just says June 25th and 26th, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, $25,000, largest Overwatch prize pool to date, just around the corner, and announcing dates, teams, and talent soon is all it says.
Blaze TV and chat said it's a global event.
So yeah, no region lock. But as far as region lock, I will say that coming from the StarCraft 2 community, essentially being my first foray into esports, that could have done with a lot more region locking. The fact that Battle.net allows you to play across server made it very easy for Koreans to just come over and beat this dog snot out of everybody, even with 200 ping. FPS obviously a little bit different. Pinging makes a very large difference, and the mechanics alone are not going to even a better European team will struggle against a worse NA team and vice versa because the ping is that big of a difference. But region lock, just because of fairness issues in general, like any NA event, I agree should have an EU counterpart. Go to Gamers Weeklies, for example. But region lock, I'm totally fine with that if TOs start moving with that in the future. And teams are going to have so much to play in. I have to imagine, they're not going to be able to play in everything, and European teams are not going to stay up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. every night just to do so.
And I would say that about region lock too, that you mentioned the StarCraft 2 scene, and it's nice to be able for each region to develop and foster their own talent within their region, rather than having one region just kind of move to different ones and dominate all. I'm not saying that there would be one dominant region in Overwatch. I mean, we did see it in StarCraft 2, but it's nice to be able to see each region kind of develop their own talent and then be able to showcase it on a bigger stage at LAN events, at global events and stuff too. So it's nice to be able to have the region locked events where these teams can grow and the scene can grow there and their own meta. But it's also nice to be able to obviously it's optimal to also have those big events be global as well.
Well, that just makes those the regional events, or the LANs, that much more exciting,
more
right?
exciting.
When you finally have NA and EU teams colliding, when that's not the norm, it's like, that builds greater rivalries to an extent because it just gives you, less conflict with the regions.
I guess to build on that too, there's this like, I don't want to say it's like every team has this issue, but like for my team specifically, I think we're like at the lower end of like the top 10 or whatever in North America. But if you were going to be if you weren't at the top, like for our example, or my example here for like this One Nation of Gamers tournament is like, if the Euros come in and then suddenly this tournament's running 2 or 3 nights a week, like similar to the way like an ESEA league would be ran, where like you have matches 2 nights a week, which is essentially what this tournament's doing. The teams that aren't in the league have a way harder time of growing during those weeks. Like for the next 3 weeks, essentially, we won't have access to like the top 3 or 4 teams in North America because they'll be participating in this tournament that like we're not participating in. So it kind of hinders our growth and like the teams that are lower than the top 8 or top 16 or whatever in terms of getting better, because of the fact that it's becoming less easy for us to play teams that are like at the top because they're being invited to teams like
natural segregation. Yeah, through invitation. So Blizzard, when I did work at Blizzard Esports, that was always a stipulation for Hearthstone World Championship, WCS points, any event that wanted to offer points. Obviously, we wanted to allow them to invite teams because they're spending the money to put on this production, and they want to be sure that they're going to get some viewership and have some good teams available. But we always limited it. So at least from whatever BlizzCon plan is announced, whatever plan that ends up being, I have to imagine that they will at least have open elements. And Overwatch, however, is so big that there will be tournaments that don't give a crap about the BlizzCon circuit. They're going to do their own,
of course,
8 teams, 10, 12, 16 team invitationals as well. So I think we're actually lucky that we're going to have the opportunity to play in tons of different stuff. But I do feel like for the absolute biggest, most prestigious events, we'll at least have those open avenues. It's not super related because obviously it's not into play right now, and I think we'll still have that issue where like the rich get richer sort of thing is gonna happen, and that's just kind of a natural evolution.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be really fun to see it all grow and expand. So we got the OG Invitational coming up very soon. That's an invite only, but if you guys did want to compete in the One Nation of Gamers competition, I believe it's just VGV or VGVN.onog.gg, and that's Video Game Voters Network, One Nation of Gamers. Good game, I guess, would be the acronym. Scroll down to the bottom of that page, and then there's a sign-up form and the official rules. But the tournament is tomorrow, so I mean, if you're watching the VOD, you're probably going to miss sign-ups. As far as I know, you can still sign up today for anyone that's watching live. I believe it's free entry to get in because there's no prizing until you actually make it through the open qualifier. And for the actual full event, it's going to be 4 teams qualify and 4 teams were invited?
I want to say it's 18. Let me just double check that here. I've got the link here. Yeah, so the invited teams are actually there's only
looks like C9 reunited.
Yeah,
Liquid.
I just got to remember who qualified. Rogue and Nubris just qualified.
Correct.
So they had 6 already. They went to 7 and 8, and then they'll add 9 and 10, and then I believe it's going to be group play into double elim. So group play, 5 groups, 5 teams in each group. We'll play round robin into playoff bracket where it looks like 2 teams will be eliminated, 5th place in each group, and then 2 teams will start in the upper bracket from each group. 2 teams will start in the losers bracket from each group.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Goes over a couple weekends, and it's just...
You were starting to say the teams. Let's at least do that. Sorry about that. Cloud9, Reunited, Team Liquid, Team Envious, Luminosity Gaming, and Gale Force Esports are the invited teams. Yeah. Rogue and Nubris just qualified on Tuesday, and then there's 2 more spots.
Should be a lot of fun. So that's pretty much One Nation of Gamers. Obviously, there'll be more info on Josh OG's actual event, which is coming up very soon. And then there's a lot of other news going on. So let's talk about Manchester United, Joshy. You had just linked this article right before I went live.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see it. Actually, kind of missed it this morning until I saw it in a chat room that I normally doesn't talk about Overwatch. It's actually my Magic the Gathering friends were talking about it because it's such a ridiculous headline, right? Where it's like Fnatic and Manchester United in bidding war over Overwatch team that already is signed somewhere, evidently, according to the article. So an existing team has Fnatic, who had a team and is now reunited, versus Manchester United, who is a huge multi-billion-dollar team. And the article values it at 1.2 billion, but there's another site that values it at 3.3 billion. So Manchester United is enormous. The only sports franchise in America bigger than that, I believe, is the Dallas Cowboys at like 4 billion. So pretty insane global scale esports hitting us immediately within a month of Overwatch's launch.
I mean, that's not even just like big for Overwatch. That's like ridiculous for esports as a whole, right? To think, I mean, we've heard of people like Shaq and Rick Fox and athletes from P Sports, as they call it, getting into esports. But for an actual brand, that's like saying the Miami Dolphins picked up like Complexity or something,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. So there are actually several football clubs in Europe that already sponsor FIFA players, Rocket League players, and those are not the global esports though, right? So that's why in America you've got investors like Mark Cuban, Rick Fox, Shaq. They're going for the games that already have all the viewers, Counter-Strike and League of Legends, rather than just games that happen to be related to football, So Manchester United going for an Overwatch team is actually a little bit unprecedented, because these other clubs typically are just doing racing game, sport, typical related sport games, I guess you could say.
Can't spell Manchester United without reunited. Coincidence? I think
Oh,
not.
damn.
Illuminati bros.
Well, someone on Reunited asked if anyone knew who it was, so I don't know if that was misdirection or.
Oh, that's next level meta, man.
Yep.
We'll find out eventually. So what do you think is Manchester United's bidding strategy here? Fnatic says a number, and then Manchester United says that +1, or does Manchester United just go Fnatic's bid times infinity, we win? Like,
The thing is like, I think Fnatic. I mean, yes, Manchester United is huge, but I feel like they could get investors. Like, obviously, they see huge value in this, and the fact that Manchester United is like, oh, we're into this. Fnatic already has reach within esports, so they do have legitimacy in that regard. I don't think this is just like an auto win for Manchester, even with the huge dollars they can put up. But at the bare minimum, this means there are the salaries that those players are going to get is probably like insane for a new game. I can't even imagine what kind of salaries you're talking about when you put somebody like Manchester United in the picture.
I don't know, man. They could just buy out Fnatic. They could buy the whole organization. So it's really
Maybe they
possible.
could.
Think about it. They could sponsor every Overwatch team that exists right now. It could just be Manchester United Overwatch.
This hurts my head, man. This is crazy.
Flame, do you have any input on this? You haven't mentioned
Yeah, I
anything.
mean, it's just one of those interesting things. Like, I was reading up on, I think it was Rick Fox had like an interview where he was about to like make a TV show, I think, like a documentary series on like his CS:GO team and like how that whole thing started.
Right.
And it was pretty much like, oh, my kid was really into video games, so I was like, I'm gonna support my kid and I'm gonna throw money into video games. So like, you never know. Like, maybe Manchester United's like their whole org is seriously interested in this, or maybe someone at the top is just like, yo, I see a big investment opportunity here. Look at all these people that are watching this tournament on Twitch, and how many people just saw this Red Bull ad on this streamer's stream. And imagine if we had the same viewers as like a TI globally, how much more ad space we get. Like, it's more or less, I guess, interesting from the investment standpoint. Like, how did that happen? Like, who started that conversation at Manchester? More so than like, I'm not convinced that their salaries are going to be like super phenomenal, but
they're going to be taken care of, though. They're going to have a nice house and transportation and lawyers and everything they need.
They'll have the money and they'll have the backing and they'll be safe, maybe. But like, that's, I guess, where the bidding war comes in, right? Like, it's a bidding war, but maybe Fnatic knows what players want more than a soccer org would want. Like, so you have to say, like, do I want to be a part of this money if they don't know how to treat players, whereas Fnatic knows how to treat players? So like, there's more to bidding than just. Or there's more to contract negotiations than just the paychecks at the end of the day. So I guess that's how you look at it.
Someone in chat said the twist is that Manchester United's picking up a console team.
Oh, no.
What's a twist?
Oh, God.
I mean, it's believable. I don't know.
So I think...
No offense to all your Xbox and PlayStation players. We love you.
I think one interesting thing, too, is that beyond them picking up teams... beyond the soccer organizations picking up teams, or football if you're from EU, is kind of the impact it might have on the culture there. From what I understand, the gaming culture isn't really widely accepted in the UK. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's not like as open as it is in some other countries. It was kind of looked down upon, much as it was in the US and NA, I should say. A decade plus ago, where it was just kind of like people weren't really as open about it or open about gaming as they are now. So I guess it kind of stymied the development of the competitive scene over there in the UK. So maybe having Manchester United or any other major footballing organization over there kind of delving into esports might actually help the growth over there. just something to think about.
No, that's true. That actually speaks volumes. It really does. I mean, even having the endorsements of like Shaq and stuff in NA has made a difference when it comes to the perception of esports for like my father's generation, for example. Like my father loves what I do. He respects everything that I do, and he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. But a lot of his buddies and a lot of the people that are his age look at it as like, why are these kids playing video games and getting paid for it? It doesn't make sense. So as soon as you have something like Manchester United giving it the thumbs up, giving it that not even the thumbs up, but like being involved in it. Yeah, it gives tons of legitimacy for that generation.
There was a NBA Tonight or Inside NBA, whatever it is. The Shaq and Charles Barkley say I don't know crap about sports. I haven't watched ESPN since like I discovered esports, but they were on this NBA program after a finals, like a playoffs game.
Right, and they had people in the
and
studio,
Charles Barkley and the other hosts are grilling Shaq. They're like, "Hey, we just wanted to bring up this news article about your team Energy. Apparently, cut 2 players. So, what are their names and like what roles did they play or something like that?" And Shaq's like, "Well, to be the best, you just got to make sure you're always on top of your game. And if you can't keep up, you're gonna get replaced." And they're like, "No, really, what are their names?" And he's like, "Well, you saw the graphic right there." It was just hilarious. Like the fact that they're doing this on the NBA post-analysis show, just grilling Shaq about his esports team. Suddenly, like, I don't know what their viewership is, but these guys are huge celebrities, and they're just casually chatting about their CS:GO squad roster changes. It's hilarious and awesome to me.
I mean, you get that like from people talking about football on a basketball show normally. The fact that esports is bridging into that gap is big. I mean, it's really big. So, cool. And Manchester United is equally as big as that, especially like you said, in the UK, it's not the most widely accepted thing. There are countries like Sweden and Korea where esports is, commonplace at this point. There's a TV channel in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, dedicated to esports. And I know ESL recently just launched a network, or the parent company of ESL launched a TV network, again, 24 hours esports. And we're not there yet in America. We have things like Go90, which is esports content on their platform that's like mobile TV. And there are things out there. But no, this is really cool. It's really big. But
and it's only going to get bigger. And I think that's the real kicker here is that right now we're saying to ourselves like, wow, like Manchester United's getting involved. Like I think I watched Rocket League the other day, and like they have some crazy production value in Rocket League. Like I don't follow Rocket League, but whenever I turn on the Rocket League channel, I'm like, wow, like is this a news studio? Like where did they get this?
Twitch invested heavily in the Rocket League Championship Series, so Twitch is the studio. Yeah, it's a huge thing. But like, what are the teams? I'm pretty sure it was like sponsored by ExxonMobil, and I was like, what? Like what? Like that is insane amounts of money. Yeah, like you want to talk about like money, like ExxonMobil is worth so much money, like, and that's not going to get any smaller. I guess.
Somebody's got to pay for the gas, right?
Your Rocket League car,
right? Rocket League cars, gasoline.
No, like it made sense, like
totally.
It straight up made sense, but it's crazy, like that. Like companies that big, like Elon Musk is tweeting out, "Oh, go play Overwatch," and you're like,
"That was so cool."
Like, I'll take a SpaceX sponsorship right now. Like, hello. Like,
yeah, Bernie Sanders is playing Diva the other day on a stream.
Yeah, insane.
What?
Elon Musk.
Okay, that was a joke. But T-Pain is playing Devo in his stream.
I did see that.
I have a friend who makes CS skins, and like he is also in like movie making, and somehow he like convinced Danny Trejo to like do a commercial for his CS like skins, like his workshop skins, and like there's a Danny Trejo CS workshop ad out there, and it's like these celebrities are like just randomly agreeing to make ads. It's like, all right, I'll take some of this cut. Like, this is insane amounts of money. Like, sure, I'll do this 10-minute commercial. And like,
maybe Winston was helping Elon Musk sending SpaceX rockets up.
Right,
makes sense.
Up into the atmosphere.
Maybe that's Elon Musk's whole plan.
Yeah. Maybe
Gorilla Moon Colony.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
For Winston.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Overwatch lore.
Yeah.
Do you think he helped build Tracer's tech also?
The memes are never ending, I guess. There's a lot of money.
It's huge and it's awesome and it's getting bigger and we're all in the ground floor of it, so it's really exciting for all of us, I'm sure. Since we're on the esports coverage, like we've talked enough about this sponsorship issues. Right. I'm curious actually, now that we've got Spoh and Flame who are both trying to play competitively to the best of their ability, I want to know what it's like for you guys with scrim schedules and roster changes and things happening all the time. And then I would love to get both of your opinions on who are the top unsigned teams that we've been seeing play. I think Nubris, Graviton Surge, and there's a few others out there that can easily, take maps and matches off of established teams. So why don't we start with Flame? Just tell us a little bit about like what's it like trying to go competitive and starting to win tournaments and all the practice environment.
It's rough, I guess, in some form. It's like the game is new, and there's a lot of things that are inconsistent in some form in terms of like the rule sets. Like you'll have a week where you have to scrim one hero limit, and then you'll have a week where there's no limits, and then like it changes the entire way you perceive the game. So that's hard. There's a lot of snaking, I think, going on in the NA scene. Not my team specifically, but there's a lot of teams that keep dying and reforming because like players will cut players behind players' backs, and there's like a lot of that going on right now. We haven't been affected by it, but it's happening. I think that's one of the hurdles. And like there's also a lot of, for my team specifically, we're a little bit older, I guess. Like most of us are around like the 24 to 26 age range. So like a lot of us are working and stuff. So like we're trying to find that balance. Like, is it worth it for us to quit our jobs? Like, should we be quitting our jobs to play? And like that becomes a huge question. My dog just went nuts. So if Spoh wants to take up here, I'll go deal with that. But it's pretty much like a balance.
Z in chat. Okay.
Yes,
I'll go while Flame's dealing with his dog. Currently, when I currently don't have a team, so I'm teamless. I've been doing a lot of freelancing though for different teams, so that's been kind of a little bit of different perspective on things. But I had a team all throughout Beta 1 and most of Beta 2 as well. So I definitely know what Flame's talking about. And one thing I like to add is that sometimes teams still have problems with. Not all teams have like managers, or most people have people to watch the scrims or take VODs of the scrims from a third-person perspective, but some teams don't have, a lot of the teams don't have managers, so a lot of times people are double booking scrims, and then you get teams trying to get scrims at the last moment, or teams getting dicked over because they don't have a scrim set up pretty much, I guess they're the good team. So that can be an issue. I would say that from a freelancing perspective, it can be difficult sometimes. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 teams saying, "Hey, can you ring?" Other times you don't, and so you're just like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna pub for the night." Like, so it's interesting. But I'm also getting to play with different teams too, which is a really interesting perspective on just how teams do things differently. Some teams have different approaches. They don't always do things differently. I mean, they don't always do things the same. You would think that because a lot of the comps you've been seeing lately are the same, that they would have similar play styles. But what's interesting is that a lot of them, depending on who is or isn't more vocal, or just some teams play more aggressive or defensively. It's a lot of fun, I guess, being able to do all that.
I mean, as a free agent and as someone who's not on a stable roster, how hard is it to get into a scrim in general? How hard is it to find a game to play competitively with a competitive rule set? And if there was people watching the show right now and they wanted to get into that, what would the best means of doing so be?
I would say the best way to do that is to join one of the Discords. There's a /r Overwatch Discord. There's a competitive Overwatch Discord, a /r competitive Overwatch Discord rather. And there's a couple other Overwatch Discords as well. And those all have things like looking for team or looking for scrims, things like that. I think over.gg is also a website where a lot of the TF2 community kind of made like an Overwatch, kind of their Overwatch community. Some people post there. So there are different ways of going about it. And some ways they're just honestly just pubbing. And that sounds kind of bad in a way, but honestly, if you're for players out there who are looking for other good players to play with, if you find someone who's good in pubs, or you enjoy playing with in pubs, add them, honestly, because you do that, you might find that eventually they're looking to put together a team and your name comes up. That's how I actually got on my first team. When I first started playing with Blam, he was the guy I played with. He was one of my teammates for most of closed beta, and he had invited me to play in the very first Overwatch tournament, and we just put together a pub team. But after that, he was like, "Hey, I'm looking to put together a more serious an actual serious team. Do you want to join? I was like, yeah, sure. That's how I found it. I didn't know these, any of these players that I had played with on my previous rosters for the most part. I didn't actually know any of them from previous games. I just happened to pop against them, and they were good players, and that's where I started. So that's
cool.
It's not all like, don't expect to find, the most, the best players at first.
Of course not.
Maybe you get lucky, but it's a process. Start somewhere and then grow from there.
It's a little hard, I think, too, or intimidating, not for Spoh or in general, just like for a new player right now, because I think that it's a little rough. I don't think that there's a really good tiered system going on right now, and I think that's kind of a problem for new players, and like it's something that has to be solved, but someone has to solve it. Like it's like no one's gonna do it. Like GG can't do it. I mean, maybe they could, but it would take a lot of resources. Like in TF2, for example, there's still a lot of active TF2 teams that are like really low level. Like they'll play in UGC and stuff like that. And right now, if you're a new team, you're just gonna be like, okay, like what are my options? And like you can scrim all night and you'll get better, but then you say to yourself, like, what am I scrimming for? Like, I want to join these tournaments. And you'll join a tournament, it's like a Go-To Gamers Open, and then suddenly, like, you wind up against Nubris in the first round. And then you're like, all right, like, great tournament, guys. See you later.
We tried.
So that problem is solved a little bit in some games just through the ranking system, where it's like if you have an arranged team, usually your Diamond League or whatever, there's some delineation in the game that you can very obviously look at. So hopefully with ranked play, that could be alleviated. And some people do enjoy running the lower skilled or at least amateur style events that StarCraft 2 still does that stuff. So I think that should get solved over time as we get more clear like delineations. But obviously everyone's going to be trying to win as much as they can, and it's going to be a rocky start, because not only are these FPS pros from multiple years of playing, tons of experience, and FPS skill doesn't decrease as quickly as something like RTS or super high APM games. I would say, like, we've got a lot of old timers, I would say, still playing Overwatch at a high level.
Yeah.
But also, we've been playing since October. We've got 6 months head start, 7 months head start. So it can be very maybe disheartening at first, but even at Agents Rising, like we had all the sign-up teams, and even the teams that lost, they would come up and talk about how they just had a great time. They didn't really expect, they didn't expect to come in and beat Cloud9 or anything like that, but they're eager to keep playing, and that's important.
It's true, and there's lots of opportunity.
I'll ask Flame and Spoh. Flame first, I guess. What are some, again, just some unsigned teams that people in our viewership should be watching out for in these upcoming events?
I guess there's like two ways to look at it. Like Nubris is definitely a team that you should be looking at if you're just trying to like find a team to watch that's not a part of like an official org. If you had asked me like 2 weeks ago, I would have said NG Red. But obviously they've been picked up now, but they're still a team that I think isn't at the top, like in terms of people's eyes, but they're a team that I honestly think could like you'll start seeing them take games off of better teams more consistently.
So who are the players? Who are some of the players on that squad?
Mangachu, Dump Truck, who's going by Exion, I think. Who else? Chance.
Bread Expert.
Yeah, Bread Expert, Nap Time, and there's someone else that I'm sure I'm forgetting that I shouldn't be forgetting.
Yeah.
But back to the point, like they're good. My team, I think, once we get our 6th, will be someone to watch. Like I don't want to shamelessly plug.
I heard there's a free agent. Who was just talking about being free agent? Was that you, Jake?
No.
Was it me?
No.
We actually have a few people in our sites right now, but there's a lot of other teams I think that keep rebranding. Yeah, I'm sorry. Soldier Studies. I don't know of many other NA teams. I know One Shot's gotten a lot better. We used to scrim them like every day, and I saw them, I think, like almost beat Team Liquid last weekend or something, and I was like, whoa, like what happened here? Or like how did this happen? Like not out of like disrespect, just like wow, like they got a lot better, and like I haven't scrimmed them in a long time. So it's exciting, I think, because every week, especially when you start adding in this one hero limit thing, it's like teams can get better overnight just by thinking about the game differently. And all it takes is one person on your team to say like, oh, I watched our VOD and like we weren't pushing enough, or we played too passive here, or like maybe we should have just rezzed here. And then the next time you go in your scrim, like that one res can change the game, and like that one death on your healer can save you the game, So it's like the game's very volatile just because of the way it's played, the rule sets, and like the way that all it takes is a stopwatch, and like you could lose a stopwatch because a tracer touched the point like too fast. So it's like teams winning consistently are generally the better teams, but when it comes down to matches like a best of 1 or a best of 3, any team I think has the potential in like the top 12 to like beat or upset a team just because of one person going off during a
really
scrim
or
a match. And like that's I think where the hype comes in. And I think that's where the competition's going to come in. There's still like the RNG factor to the game, like did your right click hit off on McCree or like stuff like that, but it's definitely a scene where already like I'm expecting to see Envious lose eventually. Right now they're in a dominant position, I think, because of like their timing. Like they got to NA, they have a house, they're playing full time, and like that team's gonna be dominant for quite some time. But I'm excited to see like if they like what happens to C9. Like C9 hasn't played them in a while, so like is C9 still the top team? Will Envious beat them? If you put Reunited on LAN against them, how would they do? There's like a lot of really hyped things, and I think that I'm more excited to see which teams beat each other. And then also see which teams that aren't signed right now, like Nubris, like us, like One Shot, like where do we stand after the next patch or like after the next 2 patches, where maybe the game starts being swayed in our favor in terms of just play style, like stuff like that. So it's very volatile, and I think that that's the one takeaway from this game.
Cool. Yeah, I'd say for the NA teams, he pretty much covered them all. Flame did, and for the EU, I'd say Graviton, Surge. I don't know too much. I don't scrim too much. I scrim in the EU a little bit with a few different EU teams, but Graviton, Surge seems to be the standout over there. I'm sure there's a couple others who are notable teams as well, but like I said, it's more familiar with the NA scene than I am with the EU. But Graviton, Surge is definitely good, and I think they'd be the team to look for.
Great.
Well, there's a lot of organizations out there still that haven't picked up teams, and that I think we could expect to, like Complexity, Dignitas. You mentioned Fnatic had a team; they don't have a
TSM
team.
has the application.
They have the application. CLG, I would imagine they'll get in. Who knows? There's so many brands nowadays, especially Echo Fox, brand new organization, been around for a few months at this point, or probably 6 months at least. But I could expect them to be aggressive with it. And so on and so forth. So obviously, all these teams, all these players like yourselves that are working and driving. I mean, once everybody sees the scope of opportunity and the viewership, which they're just starting to see, like hitting almost 50K at Agents Rising, that's the stuff that triggers sponsors to get interested. A lot of teams will probably wait it out for 2 months, see how things go. If it's still climbing, everyone's going to jump in, right? 2 months down the road, that's kind of like the test. The subreddit just passed the CSGO subreddit. There's over 383,000 subscribers on the Reddit subreddit. Wow. That's insane. That's actually just ridiculous. I haven't checked Google Trends this week, but like it's also on the up and up. Actually, it's on course to pass League of Legends, which no game has ever done. Period. Like that.
And I guess I want to speak to that point. Is that like this is the first time that like you're like I feel like there's gonna be more orgs than there are gonna be teams at that level. Like
probably
there's like and like it's becoming apparent to me that like there's a lot more orgs right now than I think there are teams to sign.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's
a good
problem.
And it's great. Yeah, it's great for the teams that like are gonna be at like not the highest level, because it's so weird to see, because like you had these CS:GO orgs that literally were just started by CS:GO players and streamers. And you have like the G2 or like the TSMs that came from like League players, and now they're like, let's expand. But like you don't want to be the Riot guy going into the Valve scene, and you don't want to be like there's no games that are competing right now. Like CS:GO is not really competing with this game, and like
they're very different.
Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm isn't competing with Dota or League, so like there's no conflict there, and like that's why I think this game is gonna have a spot to shine, because the orgs from CS, from Call of Duty, from Halo, from League, from Dota are like, all right, let's just expand to Overwatch. Like, why not? And like that's I think the exciting part for me as a player is like, that those teams are going to start getting into bidding wars as it gets bigger and bigger. And like if they start running out of top teams, and like the price of players goes up, more teams start getting signed. Like the tournaments become better, they're more frequent. And like I talked to Nate Nanzer, like the esports director at Blizzard, and like he wanted, like when I spoke to him at PAX, he like had this whole vision of like, I want teams I want you guys at the same level as like conventional athletes. I'm like, that's insane. But when you consider the money that's coming in from these orgs right now, like it's really not that insane. And it's going to be a really weird, I think, it's going to be like a really interesting next 4 or 5 years to see like how big not just Overwatch, but esports in general gets when you see things like E-League on TBS and you see things like these Korean tournaments at night.
I mean, ESPN getting involved in esports, like everything. There's so many orgs that have jumped in. So, yeah, it seems like Overwatch came out like at the perfect time. They've designed a really good game, and it's timed perfectly as esports is exploding. And maybe it could be that harmonious thing where everything's just in the right place at the right time, and this game becomes that biggest esport. A lot of people are still really speculative of like the viewability of the game. We've talked about that a bunch. That was the big focus of the show last week. With Scoots just talking about like kind of like some of the issues when it comes to being a spectator with Overwatch. But there's so many things that Blizzard can do to improve the experiences, and it's so early. Like I mean, I don't know. So it's great.
I was just gonna say that Flame did make a good point about there being more organizations and teams at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think one reason you don't see some of the big organizations in there is not because they don't want teams, but
they don't want to rush it.
I think the thing is that some teams have, and this is not a hit against any unsigned teams, but some teams have performance. I would say some teams might have some kind of performance standards where some organizations expect their team to be a top 8 team, and maybe they don't feel like there are any top 8 teams. I'm not saying there are or there aren't, but I'm just saying that I feel that some organizations maybe feel like they're in that position where they say, okay, we're only going to be signing teams that are in future Overwatch League or future Overwatch or do well in future Overwatch tournament. Like they're
like Rogue. Rogue just won the takeover, and Rogue just qualified for ONOG. So they're like that prime example of a team that's like setting themselves up to get picked up.
You have to prove yourself first before they actually pick up a team. They're not going to go out of their way. For example, TSM may not just go out of the way and pick up a team just because they can, but maybe they're waiting for a team to show up to an event and do really well, and then they say, okay, we'll take a look at these guys.
No, it's just makes perfect sense. It's just, it's business at the end of the day. You don't want to invest in something that doesn't turn up. You want to see results before you throw that money in there. But no, it's healthy. I mean, the scene is healthier than I ever could have hoped for, and it's going to be really exciting to see where it all goes. But we are winding down towards the end of the show, and I think it's time for those shout-outs, ladies and gentlemen. So Flame, thank you so much for coming on the show, and shout-outs, take it away, man.
I guess shout out to my team, Final Go McCree. That's Pure, Clockwork Steel, Papa Smurf, myself, and our 6th player that is unannounced / still in the works. Shout out to the Discord. Shout out to like every team that scrims us and all the people who put up with the shit posting and the eggplant spam and the Twitter presence and even like the rants that I occasionally and by like very frequently throw on Discord and in people's faces. And I guess shout out to Blizzard for making this game, for creating these opportunities, and for supporting your players. Like, it's coming from TF2 where the scene wasn't ever supported and very hard to talk to the community. Like, people like Kiki and Zovia and like Nate Nanzer, like being able to message them on Discord and just get responses within the same hour, the same like day is hugely positive in my eyes, and I think like stuff like that needs to be talked about more, just from a like quality of life standpoint. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's mostly it. And thanks for having me. Thanks.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming on. And you can check his Twitch out at Flame, and then you can follow him on Twitter at MattR0D.
Is it a 0?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you, Spoh.
No, it's not. Wait, what?
No, isn't your tag actually SP0H?
Nope.
Okay, I've been typing it wrong. In
Wow. All right, so yeah, you can find me on Twitch at Spoh TV and on Twitter and YouTube as Team Spoh. I post scrim VODs, raw scrim VODs there with all the comms, and I also have a montage on there as well. So check it out,
dude. You need to watch that montage. I'm telling all of you, every single one of you that watch this, if you do not go to his YouTube and check out that montage, dude, some of those Lucio plays, not Lucio, Zenyatta. Oh my goodness,
yeah,
it's so handsome.
Yeah, Spoh was one of the meanest Zenyatas through beta for sure. I remember any Zenyatta that I couldn't kill immediately caught my attention, and that was Spoh for sure.
Represent users now, though.
What is it now? Yeah, Zen users. Who are you playing now? Now that Zen is down in the dumps.
I still play Zen.
Still play Zen, yeah. I practice him. He's still good. People don't expect the Zen now.
He's so fun.
Right.
Discord orb catches them by surprise now because they forgot it exists.
I catch a lot of flack for playing it a lot of the time too. They're like, "Wow, this guy's playing Zen."
They're like, Lucio exists, right? And the second one is still better than one Zen in most cases. Anyway, shoutouts for me all go to again this awesome pillow that I got.
So sick, man.
Animated Peanut in the chat crocheted that for me. It's really special, it's cool stuff. And then just my Twitch and YouTube and Twitter are all AskJoshy. I'm starting to upload more content to YouTube, tips and guides and stuff like that. I realize, every time you see a GIF or a tip or something like that on Twitter and gets a billion retweets, it's because 7 million people are playing this game. Not all of them have played every map 10 times or even 5 times or even 2 times. So every single little piece of content is still valuable to someone, and I'm realizing that now. So Twitch and YouTube is where all my stuff lives, and then I will be casting tomorrow, actually not on twitch.tv, but on stream.me/King of the Watch. That series is up to number 11 now, and it's going to be, I believe, I may need to double check this. 1 second here. It's written right here for me. But it's Vape Nation, a team called Vape Nation versus...
Vape Nation.
Do we know who Vape Nation is?
Twitch chat knows who Vape Nation is.
Did they have a FGC?
Envy versus Vape Nation. So I'm going to click on this ESL link and look at Vape Nation real quick just so I can verify. But it looks like it's got Ambition, Danshu, Ice Cold, Keppa, Tom Zombie, and Hayes. So a new team, generally unknown team, is going to be playing against Envious. So good luck to those guys tomorrow on King of the Watch. But I'll also be casting the One Nation of Gamers and Video Game Voters Network stuff on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I believe they're letting me do it on my own channel, AskJoshy. So thanks to all those people and all the various people who've been hitting me up about casting and video collaborations and stream advice and casting advice and all that stuff. It's really fun for me. So thanks everybody. And thanks again, Flame, of course, for agreeing on short notice to be on the show today.
No problem.
Alrighty. For me, I have officially decided to make Overwatch my focus moving forward. So this is going to be my
bombshell.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I've been completely solo Heroes for 2 years now, and I've decided I'm not quitting Heroes, but Overwatch is my priority at this point in time. So I'm putting in a lot of effort into studying, learning, and building. So if you guys remember what I did with Heroes of the Storm, I built a lot of events. I built a podcast, and I did a lot around that. Well, I'm going to the next level for Overwatch. I've actually got my own brand I'm launching. I'm going to be building up basically a company that runs Overwatch tournaments. I'm going to work with partners on other events. I've been talking to a lot of different people about doing things. I'm going to be building educational content with that, and I'm going to be doing a lot in general. So you can expect a little bit of everything and collaborations with everyone. And I'm aiming to have the official announcement by the end of June. For the website, the brand, the tournaments that are coming, everything. There's a lot, and there's already some other cool stuff in the works. So I'll be casting potentially this weekend some other stuff, more like side things, not Onog or anything. And basically, I'm just trying to get a lot of practice and experience in there. Heroes and Overwatch, there's a lot of similarities with casting, but I do have a lot of learning to do when it comes to the flow, the pacing. But I'm actually really excited for the challenge, and I'm really excited to work with people like Joshy in the future on cast. So it should be really fun. Again, I am not quitting HOTS. TownHall Heroes is not dead. It will continue, and I do intend to continue casting HOTS. But at this point in time, Overwatch, I just like the game way too much. It's way too fun. I'm enjoying it, and like Joshy said, I know that's a bit of a bombshell, but that is the plan moving forward. So on that note, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Thank you for the VOD. Make sure you subscribe to, of course, our Twitter account. It's just TownHall OW. We've actually got one of the larger podcasts for Overwatch on Twitter. Yes. And actually, we are now available on Google Play. So we're on Google Play. We're on SoundCloud, soon to be on Spotify. I think we can do it on Spotify. I've been looking into that, so I want to get it on Spotify. I want this show to be accessible for everyone. It's not about getting the ad revenue on Twitch and YouTube. It's about, getting the word out there and getting everybody involved and up to date with everything. So accessibility is key. So again, thanks so much, Flame, for coming on and joining us here for the show. And next week, we'll be back potentially with our first ever 5-person panel here for Town Hall Overwatch. We'll keep you guys updated on that. That is definitely a possibility. That does it for us here. We'll see you next time. GG's.
See ya.
Thank you.